Welcome to the Pink Dress Effect podcast. I'm Shannon.
And I'm Kim.
We are so excited to be here today. It's our second episode.
Yes,
we're
so
doing
exciting.
it. We're so excited. We had a date of December 18th.
And we made it.
We sure did. So we're super excited. Thank you to everyone who has been supportive. We have lots of friends and family who have been nothing but supportive of us, and we wanted to thank you for that.
Yes.
Putting yourself out there is a little scary, I think, but also I think even scarier is living a life of not taking any risks.
Yeah, no regrets.
We get one, right?
Yeah.
We get one. And so to me, this has been fun so far. So we're excited. Today is our Christmas. We're going to talk about Christmas and kind of some of the dynamics that come with Christmas and family dynamics and how those can be. We are pre-recording this because obviously we want to be with our family and friends on Christmas Day.
Absolutely.
But we do want to say Merry Christmas to all of you who do celebrate Christmas. We're really excited about it.
Yeah.
But I know we're going to share something about Christmas, maybe things that have changed for us individually.
Yeah.
And I know that, for me, for my son is 21 and his whole life we have been traveling to visit my parents, like his whole life. And I built a house a few years ago, and he said, "Mama, is there any way that we can stay home this year?" And I was feeling some kind of way. Like, it really bothered me because it's just him and I. And so I felt like that whole dynamic of family, all of the craziness that comes with that, how could I manage? But at that moment, I had to go into mom mode and think about my child and what was best for him. And I thought, he's never had any memories of home in his own home on Christmas.
Right.
And I thought, that's terrible. And he only has 4 years left at home, Right. And so I thought, you know what? No, we've got to do it. And it was really hard for me. Like, it was good for him, but it was hard for me because I, not being with my mom and everything, and actually having to call my mother. I mean, she's a mom, right? She wants her kids home. I want my son home.
You're breaking those traditions.
Exactly. And I think that it hurt me to hurt her. I'm sure I did. I mean, we've gotten used to it, and it's been 5 or 6 years now, and it's all worked out great. We see each other different times throughout the year.
Yeah.
But for me, it was, putting my child's needs first and not thinking about myself. And it's actually worked out really nice. I have people over on the 24th. The 25th tends to be a little quiet, but it's actually kind of nice. And we have created our own little cadence.
Yes.
I still see my family. My brother has since moved to the area, so I get to see my brother and his wife and children. They come by, which is really nice the night before. So I do get to see some family, which is good. But my family, my son and I, we've created a new dynamic, and it's been really great. What about you, Kim? Have you done anything crazy, different?
Yeah, I haven't done anything crazy, but I have done something different. So this is the first year that I'm not hosting Christmas Eve for my large extended family, and that was a bit of a transition. And this is the first year that it's actually happened, so I haven't actually experienced it yet. But I've been doing it for at least 15, maybe even longer than that I've been hosting. When my children were small, I loved it. I wanted to be home Christmas Eve, and I wanted to create all the magic and, just have it be wonderful. And my family loved it. But over the last few years, it's exhausting.
Because you do a lot.
Yeah. No.
Because I know for the morning, you tend to go, you'll drive an hour to go get cinnamon rolls. And I used to think, God, that's a long way to go for cinnamon. They're good.
Right. No, well, I wouldn't do it the day of, but leading up to so many traditions and just trying to make that magic. And I loved it for a long time, but then I didn't. And I really just, I would be broke down. I would be sick. It never failed. Every year after Christmas was over, I would be sick. So I spent my vacation in the bed. And I just was exhausting myself. But I kept doing it. And this year I was like, no, I'm not going to host this year. And you know what? It's going to be just fine.
It is going to be just fine. And I'm really proud of you for making that decision, because I think, and I'm sure our audience feels the same way, right? There's things we just do. And one of the big overarching theme of our podcast is being authentic to yourself.
Yes.
Doing the things that make you feel good, right? You don't want to hurt others, but you've got to keep yourself first, your boundaries and all of those things. And if you continuously live your life doing things to please everybody else, you are going to be sick.
Yes.
You're going to be exhausted. And you probably, I'm not saying you didn't enjoy Christmas. I'm sure you did, but then you're
sick. I don't know. I mean, there's a few Christmases I was like, like, I don't know. That didn't feel so magical to me.
Well, right. And then you're off of work for a little bit of time and you're in bed sick.
Yes.
That's no fun. That's no fun. So I'm proud of you for that. And I would
thank you.
our viewers and listeners to maybe think about, obviously you're going to hear this on Christmas Day. So for next year,
yes,
start thinking about things that you can do in your own life with traditions that maybe you can change up next Christmas.
Yeah.
So that way you can enjoy it as well and not worry about pleasing people as much. Because my mother, she's fine now. I mean, it's been a few years and I'm fine, actually. I've grown to enjoy it. So.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that highlights, even with you talking about your experience, is that there are different seasons in life. So there are times when it may be you are more focused on your children and what's good for them. And then it might transition and you can be more focused on, okay, what works for me?
Right.
And it doesn't have to be the same year after year.
Right.
And you create new traditions and it looks a little bit different, but it doesn't mean that it's bad.
No, exactly.
Just different.
And it's worked for my little family. So I'm looking forward to hearing what happens, next week, how you felt about it. Were you able to, and it'll feel different. That
it
first
will
year,
feel
it felt
different.
a little like, ooh, there's not enough chaos. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but I come from a very large family. I mean, there's 5 kids, right? So it's always something going on. And then you're in a house with just 2 people. It's not as noisy. It's not as whatever. But at the end of the day, we've created our own thing.
Yeah. Well, I noticed it during COVID when we didn't host that year. And it was different.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I wasn't the greatest fan. But, one of the things that we did do, we went around and looked at Christmas lights after.
Oh, that's fun.
And so it'll be different, but that's okay.
And different can be good.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
And we'll adjust.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I'm excited for you guys.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So we'll lead into what we're going to talk about today. Because of those dynamics, Kim's making these changes. I made those changes 5 years ago. And, you're not going to make everybody happy when you make these changes.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've had stuff in your family, or maybe there's resentments that people hold on to throughout the year. They got angry with a brother or sister and they didn't talk it out. Like they didn't have a conversation to heal it.
Yeah.
And so they carried into the holidays, but you've got to go because, it's mom's house and we have to get together for the holidays. And then now there's this dynamic, right? And sometimes it's not a healthy dynamic and it creates stress and turmoil sometimes. And you always hear, right, what's a holiday without some family drama?
And what do you think it is about the holidays that makes it such a setting that's right for family drama? What is it about the holidays?
I feel like it can be so many different dynamics.
It's so much pressure.
There is. It's pressure. The gifts, right? Maybe you're single and you don't have a partner, and so everybody else does in your family, and so that carries its own set of challenges because, right, the holidays you want to be with the friends that you love and your family that you love and maybe significant other that you love, and if you're not spending time with those people or you don't have those people in your life, it just creates a little bit of stress, I think. Sadness, maybe, in some ways. And then you see someone else's happiness, and it might trigger. They might be triggers.
Yeah, and I think that the expectation during the holidays is that we're all living in a Hallmark Christmas movie.
Yes.
And
you know what
it's
happens
got to be
those?
perfect.
Everybody's perfect, yeah.
Well, and it all ends perfect. Even if there's a little bit of drama, and it's not that much drama.
That's right.
It's kind of sugary sweet. But
it is.
Everybody's aspiring to that snow-covered Christmas with the fireplace burning and, all of those dreams. And that's hard to live up to. And the reality is, that's not reality.
No, it's not
for
reality.
most people.
I would say all people, right? Nobody's life is perfect, right? I mean, even someone who, like you said, it appears perfect, their life is not perfect. And so, and again, back to the theme of our podcast, being authentic, right? You don't have to tell everybody all your business or anything, but the reality is, do the best you can. But how do you, if, you go to a family function and, I don't know, there's a fight that breaks. What do you do? What do you do, Kim? What do you do with that?
I think you come to the table, first of all, with your boundaries in place.
Those boundaries.
So, the holidays, you're already stressed. You're probably tired. It's kind of a perfect scenario for someone to say just a little thing that's going to set you off.
And then the drinking.
And then the drinking. I forgot. Too much eggnog.
Too much eggnog. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of a perfect scenario for things to get out of control. But if you kind of set yourself up. So today, look, you're heading to a family function.
Yep.
And you know the people that might trigger you. You know the things that might trigger you. Kind of prepare yourself for that. And already kind of prepare yourself for how you're going to handle it.
Yeah.
And that you get to choose how you respond to other people.
That's right.
And so say someone says something to you and then maybe they talk about you ate a few too many Christmas cookies or something. They have something to say about it. And you say, you know what? I've been enjoying the holiday season.
That's right.
And, I think I look wonderful right now.
That's
and
right.
just focus on the positive. But, letting them know you set a boundary. Like, I don't want you talking about how many Christmas cookies I have.
That's
and
right.
if I get an extra serving of something.
No, that's right. Because I remember I was at a family function one time. And it's actually funny now when I look back, because this person has since passed away and I adored her and loved her so much. But my aunt and I were sitting there and there was a bowl of peanut M&Ms and we were just we were
going it down.
And she could not stand. We probably both, I'll speak for myself. I needed to lose some weight at that time. And she got up and she grabbed that bowl of M&Ms from us. And we were like, what in the world? Now, we didn't say anything out of respect because she was elderly or whatever, but she was looking at us probably like, what in the world are you doing? At that moment, we could have went nuts on her, right? But we actually laughed about it. But something like that could trigger someone, right?
It could trigger someone,
Or what if you haven't seen someone in a long time, right? Sometimes people think they can tell you, you look like you put a little weight on.
Yeah.
You look like first of all, why do you think you can say that to someone is number one?
Yes.
But that would hurt.
Yeah.
And so, our natural reflex or defense is to protect ourselves.
Yeah, and get defensive.
Just like that, boom. But at that moment, you could actually, even though it hurt you, you could actually say, thank you for noticing. Or you could you could just say, or you could even take it a step further and say, I really didn't appreciate that comment. That was very hurtful.
Yes.
And then walk away.
Yes. And just leave it at that. You don't have to respond so large, in your response. You can just say something simple like that. And, most of the time when people are saying those comments, sometimes they're consciously aware, sometimes they're not. And if they're not aware that they shouldn't say things like that, you've just reminded them.
You just reminded them. And then also another thing you can do, right, if it got so bad, because you hear about sometimes the dynamics is so toxic.
Yeah.
You can leave, right?
Yeah, like if you're flipping chairs and stuff.
you just need to leave, right? Because it's really not worth destroying a holiday. But more importantly to me is relationships.
Yes.
We are human. We all go through things. And even people within our families. We go through things, and sometimes you just have to walk away because, to me, a relationship is so much more important than anything.
Yeah.
And then you can talk about it later, especially if you've been drinking and things like that, right?
Yeah.
It just escalates it, and then nobody wins.
Yeah, and it's okay not to go.
Well, that's the truth, too. That's the truth, too.
You can define for yourself what the holidays look like for you. And if it's an environment that's too chaotic and too traumatizing, and it's going to cause you to not enjoy your holiday, you can choose not to go.
Yeah, and then another thing is you hear people, and I know when my son was younger, I didn't have it so crazy, but I know some of my friends and family have, where it's like, Saturday we got to go to the in-laws. Tomorrow we got to get up, with Santa and all that stuff. And then we got to go to my parents, and then we got to go to my brothers. And then you're like, you don't even get to enjoy the day because even with your own children. Mm-hmm. And so, like you said, redefine what that holiday looks like to you without worrying about all of that and those traditions, because you can make new ones.
Yeah. And, traditions, they are wonderful, but you get to make for yourself during whatever season of life that you're in, you get to do what makes sense for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And life changes, and releasing those expectations about how you should be, how your family should look. Sometimes people are grieving through the holidays and they're really sad. And your family dynamics have changed, substantially.
Yeah.
And, that is a time where you really have to, I don't want to say what people have to do. I know that I have spent many Christmases throughout my life where I was sad at Christmas. And you have to figure out, okay, how do I have some joy during a season where I'm actually really sad?
Right.
So,
right. And I've had some of those. I remember the first Christmas, it was probably 3 Christmases in a row. They were really, really hard for me. And I was not quite divorced, I don't think, but almost. And that year, it was my whole family dynamic. My brother was dating someone new. I'm single. Like, it was just, everything was just different.
Changed.
And it was, we were at my parents', and it was just, oh my gosh. And I have to share a funny story.
I like funny stories.
So, you know those letters that people send out at the holidays, send Christmas cards, and I know stamps are so daggone expensive now. People aren't sending them. Well, I'm not doing a Christmas card this year, but
you get an email.
That's right, or a post on Facebook. But and I always loved sending Christmas cards out, but not doing it this year. But anyway, but you get these letters. They're like, I don't know. Sometimes they're nice, right? For someone, like, if we hadn't seen each other in a year, and I get a letter from you, and you're highlighting, what's your husband doing, what your kids doing, what are you doing, where are you working? It's a great way to kind of summarize your year. But this particular year, I don't know if it was the first year after I was doing. Anyway, it was one of the hard Christmases, and my parents, I was at their house, and they get multiple. So they get this letter, and we're reading it. And my father always calls them a brag letter. Because
well, they kind of are.
And this particular one, I think it was like, we went to Europe, and we did this, and we did that, and our kids are just amazing, and all these things, right? Mm-hmm. That highlight reel that we've talked about. And my father and I sat down, and we were like, what if we write one this year? Ours will be really fun. We had a lot of dynamics in our family that year. I will only talk about myself, but the divorce and moving and just a hot mess. I think I lost my job that year. I mean, it was a hot mess. And my dad and I, we were like, what if we wrote one? How cool would that be? And we laughed and laughed, because it would, if you got that letter
Imagine
in the mail,
getting that letter.
You would have been like, oh my gosh, this family is a hot mess. And we laughed and we laughed. So it's almost like we took a negative.
Yes, and made it positive. You did.
And it was funny. And we were preparing for this episode, I thought about the letter that my dad and I had thought about writing. And I thought, obviously, we would never do it, but it was like, maybe if people were more honest, maybe we'd get more letters like that, right? We'd get more letters like the one my dad and I kind of wrote. But that really changed the dynamic of that day, because it was feeling a bit sad.
Yeah.
And then we took a lot of sad things, and made it into a funny.
Yeah, you found out how to get joy.
We did, and it turned into a great day, because we were like, what a hot mess.
Yeah, no, that is a fabulous story. I just keep thinking, like, what if I did one?
Could you imagine getting a letter like that in the mail?
I can't imagine writing that letter, but
but we had fun, and I'll have to call my dad after this, because I remembered it last night, and I didn't talk to him about it, but we laughed and we laughed. It was the funniest thing, because you just kept thinking, someone opening that letter going, oh my gosh. Like,
shut it right back.
Or they'd be posting it on Facebook.
Well, nowadays they probably would. And gossiping about you.
Gossiping about a hot mess of my life.
Look, if you put your hot mess life out there, there's nothing to gossip about.
Well, that's the truth. I mean, think about it. That is 100% the truth. So, and that's the thing about life, right? I mean, we all have stuff, and
we do.
There's stuff we're proud of, stuff we're maybe not so proud of, maybe a little ashamed in some ways. But I think forgiveness, for yourself and your family,
others,
right?
Yeah.
And going into the holidays, maybe it's a good time to look at maybe some things that you've done in your life, and maybe not hold those grudges.
Yes.
And maybe say, well, I haven't been so perfect myself. And even if it wasn't towards that person, but maybe have more compassion and more grace for people when they maybe say things to you or speak to you in some kind of way, because the reality is we really don't know what people are going through.
Yes, they may be going through a difficult time too.
And they haven't shared that with you. And so they might have snapped it to you some kind of way and you didn't like it. But if you just take a step back and have some grace for people, and maybe meet them where they are, understand that you don't know everything going on in their life.
Yes.
And so just have a little bit more compassion and grace when you go into these family functions. And I think it can go a long way, and maybe turn around something stressful into a beautiful day.
Yeah. And in doing things for other people. So if you're having a difficult time during the holidays and you're sad, find out or think about ways that you can bless someone else.
Yeah.
It will automatically make you feel so much better.
Have you found ways to do that through the holidays?
I have found ways.
That's
and
awesome.
I tend to look close to home.
That's awesome.
But there are opportunities, and I look for those things where God places someone in my path. And if he places them in my path and I feel it in my heart to bless them, then I know that's coming from God. And so I use that as an opportunity to bless other people. But I tend to look in my circle.
Yeah.
and say, okay, how can I help?
Because somebody's struggling, right?
I mean, and because there have been years where I was the one who needed help. You know, I remember when my children were little and there was a Christmas and we just didn't have a lot of money. And my mom, you know, look, that family, grapevine. But she had, you know, let extended family know. And it was one of the best Christmases because people chose to bless us.
Yep.
So if you're struggling this Christmas, and I know it's Christmas Day and you can remember for the future, but if there's any time in your life where you're struggling, let people know.
And you don't have to wait till Christmas.
Yeah.
Right?
That could be any time when you're going through something difficult.
Yep.
And, you know, you have to be vulnerable sometimes to allow the blessings to come in.
You do. And you bringing that up, and you brought your mom up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had been going through my divorce. So just an awful time. And it might have, I don't think it was final. I don't remember. It was so long ago. But I was in Sam's Club. And sometimes I'm like, how did I have a membership to Sam's Club? I had
You're like, I couldn't afford that.
And I don't even know why. Maybe I was going to get a case of water because it's cheaper. I don't know. But I was in there and it was the holidays and it was right before Christmas. And, you know, my son at the time was probably 9 years old. And, you know, they want all the toys and all the things. And Christmas is my favorite time of the year.
Yes.
And, to not be able to provide for your child, it's really, really hard. And I ran into Kim's mom. At Sam's, and it's a lesson that I've kept with me. I talk about it.
You talk about it all the time.
That was probably 12 years ago. It was a long time ago, and I'll never forget it. And I saw him. We said hello, and she went her way. I went my way, and then we ran into each other again, like right at the checkout area. And she said, "Give me your hand." And she had her hand like this, and she opened it, and she dropped a $20 bill. In my hand. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't take that. I can't take that. And I'm a giver by nature. So I'll be the one like your mom. But taking things from others,
receiving love,
it's hard for me. Yeah. I've worked on it, and I'm much better now. Yeah. And she said no, and then she's like, "You take it," and she goes, and she said, "Shannon, God has put this on my heart to bless you. If you don't take it, you're not allowing God to do what." Me to do what God has told me to do.
Yes.
And I've kept that in my mind for many, many years. And that same year, it was still a hard Christmas, but my parents bought my son all his Christmas. I'm going to get upset.
Oh,
they bought all his Christmas gifts. I think I was able to afford just a couple, but I don't even know if they know how much that
it meant
to me.
Yeah.
And then further on, I was out of work over a year.
Yeah.
And it just got worse and worse and worse. And one day I got a money order from my father. It was his handwriting. And it was not the holidays. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't take this. It was a pretty large sum of money. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I called him and I'm like, Dad, I'm ripping this up. He's like, it's a money order. It's cash.
And it's your parents.
You can't. And I said, Dad, I can't take this. And he said, well, you're my little girl. And he said, would you do it for your little boy? Mm-hmm. And my little boy, again, was only 9. And I thought, I'll do anything for him. And so at that moment, even though I was an adult, I was still my dad's little girl.
Yes.
And I will never forget that kindness and it wasn't just them and your mom, but there were other people too. And so I have my own set of things that I do and every year. Yeah. And it doesn't matter how much money, even when I got that first job, not making very much money.
Yeah.
I started blessing other people. And it's just small tokens, but it makes me feel good. And it also reminds me of where I came from.
Yes.
Because you can go back there.
Yes, anytime. Yes.
Anytime. Yes. And life's not always easy, but you have to remember.
And you've never, I only learned about you blessing people and the way that you do a couple years ago. Yeah. So I've known you for many years and you never, you didn't brag about it. You didn't highlight it for people. It's just something that you do as a kindness for strangers.
I feel like, God put it on my heart and it didn't matter how much money I was making. And and this year, I actually had it on my heart to do a little more. And I have a dream. Someday, maybe, I'll make enough money that I can do lots of money and bless lots of different people. And this year, I've decided there was a couple people I knew in my life that have touched me. And I feel like, kind of like you said, your circle.
Yes.
And I was like, there's 2 people I knew that I wanted to bless a little bit more this year. And then the remainder, then I will bless strangers. But this year, I knew... Sometimes you got to look at your circle, like you said, and those people closest to you might need it because you never know when you will too. So that can also help with that family dynamic because maybe the stress is coming from a layoff. Yeah. A lot of people are getting laid off right now.
Yes. And you don't know, you just don't know what people are going through, and they don't know what you're going through. Yep. And you don't have to put all of your business and put all your business in the streets. You don't have to. No. But you'll quickly learn the people in your life that are there for you. Yep. And you have to allow them to be kind to you. And
it's hard.
It's hard.
Especially when you're a giver.
Yes.
You know, you're just like, I want to give and bless everybody. But you know what? There are other givers that want to bless you too.
Yes.
And you've got to let them, because it does hurt when people don't want to take the stuff. They're just like, it hurts me.
Yeah. And for people like us, you know, that are used to, you know, being the take charge type of people and getting it all done, people don't always see the vulnerable side that we may have. Or that we may be struggling, or there's a lot going on with us.
Right.
So, you know, they say, look out for your strong friends.
And they do say that.
Yes.
Think about, you know what, I saw the post the other day. It was mental health, and it was like Robin Williams, that beautiful girl that was Miss America, Miss USA, with the real pretty curly hair. There was a chef.
Yes.
All these people that there was 4 of them. I can't remember the other person, but you look at these people. I mean, Robin Williams, he's so funny. He's great. And then this girl is absolutely beautiful and smart. I mean, she had so much going for her. And, you know, the chef, I mean, all the things. And I know those are famous people, so you hear about those stories, but there's everyday people that's happening too, right?
Yes.
And so on the outside, everything appears just perfect, and they were strong, but they weren't. They were struggling. No. And so, and the holidays, I think, amplify that too, right? They say sometimes right from Thanksgiving, even on to Valentine's, a little past Valentine's Day.
Seasonal affective disorder.
Yeah, and then you've got all those major, you know, this is about love, and this is about gifts, and this is, you know, it's a lot. And so we just have to be kind, and we have to be just have grace for people.
And have grace. And so going into today, you know, when you're visiting family, just kind of remember, set those expectations about how you're going to handle the day. Go into the day with grace and kindness. If it's too volatile, make the choice to stay home and celebrate another way. And just be thankful and demonstrate gratitude.
I love that. Yeah. I think that's perfect. And you have a wonderful and beautiful Christmas that way, I think. So I really love the way you wrap that up, Kim. I think those are all great ideas. I thought of another one. Watch a Christmas movie.
Yes.
So we did a poll, and I'm going to look at my phone. So it was, which best describes your family this Christmas? So the movie This Christmas, which I've never seen. I'm going to watch it.
Yes.
And then the National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation movie, or Christmas movie. And that was 57% the winner, National Lampoon's against This Christmas at 43%. So not too far off.
Not too far off.
So I'm going to watch that movie, but I haven't. But I know you love the National Lampoon.
Oh, I love it. It is my favorite Christmas movie of
Cousin
all time.
Eddie?
Oh, I love Cousin Eddie. And the dinner scene,
the one thing about that movie, you think about, we've all like anticipated something really good happening, whether it's a bonus, like in his case, and he wanted to bless his family and all that. But it is a funny movie, but I know we didn't have it on our poll. Yeah. But I love Elf. And sometimes, and it's stupid, right? I mean, it's so stupid. Like, I hate to use that word, right? I don't even use that word in my house.
Right. They're silly.
It's so silly. And all I can do is think of Will Ferrell, like, I'm at the studio with him, and I'm on the outside of the production area, and he's over there jumping around, doing all this stuff. And I could just, this grown man, and I just think of that every time I see him in that movie. Dad! You know, like all that stuff. And I just crack up laughing because I'm like, I don't know how.
How can you be sad watching it?
Right, and how could he keep a straight face? I mean, he's a great actor, obviously, but how can you keep a straight face when you're like, Dad? Like, I mean, you know, in this little outfit and all that. But yeah, but how could you not laugh? And then, of course, National Lampoon's. I mean, Cousin Eddie. I mean, come on, right?
Yeah, it's just so chaotic, and I love the dynamics of a chaotic family.
Yeah, because nobody's family is perfect. No. And you see in that movie especially how they all kind of take all of that craziness and come together.
They still support and love one another.
Supported one another. And I keep looking at my phone because it's like, you know, the old notes that we used to use, right? But we talked about ending the podcast on a positive note, and I think we did with the movie. So watch one of those movies. But The Grinch, which is always a great classic, right? That's a great reminder, I think, that movie. And one of the quotes that The Grinch says is, "No one should be alone on Christmas." And so I agree with that. And I think even at my gym the other day, I was working out, and the instructor was like, if you are going to be alone on Christmas, call me, you know, come over. Like, you're welcome. And I feel the same way. So anybody that I love that's close by or far or whatever, come over.
Yeah.
Like, you should not be alone. We can watch Elf.
Yeah. And if you happen to find yourself alone on Christmas, first of all, make sure you're looking for opportunities and those friends who would support you, who don't know that you're alone on Christmas.
Because they don't know what they don't know, right?
And they don't know, and they don't know how to support you. And just remember to look for all the ways that you have joy in your life.
That's right. That's right. I love that. I love that. I hope that your holidays are healthy, happy, and safe. And you really have a joyful Christmas day and just season, just this whole season, right?
Yeah, because it's not over.
It's not over.
The tree stays up till New Year's Eve and maybe beyond.
It does. And you know, one other way that you can, like, don't stay in the house.
Yeah.
Get out. There's so many shopping centers and places like that you can actually walk around for free and see such beautiful lights. And how can that not bring you joy?
Yeah.
Even if you're by yourself, you know?
Yes.
So, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
And we want to thank Station Square for allowing us to use a studio.
Yeah, it's been a wonderful experience.
It really has.
Yeah.
It really has. And we look forward to our next episode, which is fitting. Holidays continue. New Year's resolutions, why people make them, why they can't keep them, but also, maybe do some reflection on 2024. And what are some of the things maybe you want to change or improve or just be better, right?
What did we learn?
Yeah.
Man, it's been a year of growth.
I've learned a lot this year.
Yeah.
It's been beautiful though, right? And take it into 2025 even stronger.
Yes.
So we look forward to seeing you on that episode. We look forward to you watching today. And again, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.